We're live again! Look at that! We're back, folks!
Alright, timer's starting.
This is incredible!
Say hi.
Alright, here we go. What's up, Roscoe, buddy? The scooter. Roscoe, you painting? Phoebe, you're logged in twice. That's so cool.
There's Uncle Soy right there. You see him?
What's up, Roscoe, buddy?
Oh, yep. He sees you.
Alright, I am going to mute everybody so we can get this thing rolling. Dun-it. Alright, we're gonna start. I promise that even if your background is still not perfectly dry, it'll work. Alright? So I'm going to use I'm just gonna use this old yellow container because everything's dry in it, but you should use a fresh spot on your paint palette. All right, and we are going to take a nice big scoop, and we're using Bob Jr. if you forgot. We're taking a nice big scoop of yellow. And again, this time we want a huge scoop because Bob Jr. is pretty small. Huge scoop of yellow. And I want the exact same size scoop of red in there, right next to it. All right, and then swirl those together. Get them swirling. Awesome. Now in this color, you are going to add a dunk of blue. All right, so I'm going to add about that much blue to the color that I have there. Just a little dunk of blue. All right, so now what I want you to do is take about a third of it. All right, so if you have all of your color in one spot, I want you to take about a third of it and move it away from your pile of paint. I know this is crazy talk, but you guys can do this. All right, so take about a third of it, move it to a separate spot, and now you're going to add a dunk of white to that little spot. All right, so we're mixing up two colors. So keep one color separate, and now you're gonna mix a little bit of white into the little bit that we separated. All right, and we're gonna have two nice colors to work with now. All right, so if you look in mine, I have like a nice darkish purple and a nice lightish purple. For those of you on Instagram Live, I don't know if anyone's on there, but all right, so again, we have a nice light purple and a nice dark purple. All right, and we're gonna start with that dark purple. We have all our colors mixed up. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to rock and roll. Sort of, maybe, kind of.
Wait, sorry, my colors are like not really purple.
Well, what color? What did you get?
It's like more red than purple, so I should probably put more blue in.
It's up to you, right? Find a color that you like. Like if it looks like too red to you and you don't like it, then add a little blue. But if you like the red that you got there, stick with it.
Okay.
All right, but again, I'm gonna load my brush up here with the darker of my purplish reds, whatever you ended up with. All right, and now with this particular painting, my light source is gonna be coming from the right here. All right, my darker purple is going to be on the shadow side. So I just want this to be on the left side of all my little rocks and ridges. All right, and again, this is where you get to make your mountain. Okay, you can't put a shadow in the wrong spot. All right, you're just designing your mountain here. So I'm going to start up at the top of my little ridge on the left side here. And I'm just going to kind of dab my way down just a little bit. All right, and every once in a while I kind of bounce over to the right a little bit, bounce back to the left. All right, but really, I'm just kind of using just the corner of my brush here. I don't mean to give you all the finger. I'm just using the corner of my brush here, and I'm just kind of dabbing my way down. All right, every once in a while, turning my wrist a little bit, increasing pressure a little bit. But this is my shadow color, so I want to cover the left side of all my little ridges here. I can bring some of these down. All right, and you want to leave some of that black shining through too. Black looks really nice showing through. And then feel free to add a couple over here on the right too. A couple up in here. Just kind of bouncing our way around with the brush, just deciding how our mountain range is going to look here. Alright, and then I'm going to stick with that darker shade, go over to this left ridge here, and just kind of bring some of these. Nice. We don't want to overdo it, just working our way across. Once you get your way across, you don't have to clean the brush or anything. We'll just wait for a second before we add our highlights in. Alright, and let me see if I can bring you guys just a little bit closer just to show you up close there. Alright, so that's what mine's starting to look like there. You can see those shadow colors, but I didn't color all of my black in. Right, it's really nice to have that kind of shining through. Remember, this is the darker of the two colors that we're going to lay down. So the next one's really going to make it pop.
Can you talk again about where the light's coming from?
So on this one, right, since I have my sun is over here on the right, like off the page, I am going to have all the color that we just laid down are our shadows. Alright, so you kind of want to just think about having all your shadow colors on the left edges of your rocks because our source of light's coming from that right side. Alright, and if you do finish, just throw your brush in the water so it doesn't dry out. And then we'll just wait a second. You don't need to clean it. We're just going to wait a second until we lay down our next shade here. I gotta tell you, I'm already liking these mountains about 500 times better than the ones that I did for the original, so I think these colors are gonna look really, really good. Alright, so I'm gonna give you guys another 30 seconds to finish up those shadows. Again, it's not
Can
to
you go close up again on yours?
Yep. Again, it's not to cut you off, it's just because if I let you go too long, you'll end up with an entire range of purple. Right? We don't want to cover all those shadows. We want to leave some. You see that? I think my lighting this week is a lot better. What do you guys think? Well, if you weren't here last week, you wouldn't know. But I think it is better.
Yes, it is better.
All right, good. Thank you, Lou. All right, so let's stop where we are there. Again, after this next step, we're gonna use both colors and just kind of bounce back and forth a little bit just to really blend them together. So let's just give our brush just a tiny rinse. Doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Make sure you do. We're gonna use Bob Jr. again. Make sure you wipe them off on the towel. And now we're gonna be going into that lighter shade of purple. Alright, it's nice to mix them up at the same time because then you know that you're working with the same colors. Alright, so now this is going to be the lighter color, so we want it to be coming from the same direction as our sun. So I'm just going to kind of bounce these just in. And again, I'm just kind of pressing the corner of the brush. Just turning my wrist like this. It's a little exaggerated, but just using the corner of my brush to just kind of press in. Alright, some of those details. And every once in a while, you can kind of slide your brush, right? but it's good to have both of those textures in there. And then don't hesitate to bring some of that light shade into that dark purple that you already laid down. All right, it's nice to have some of that in there because it adds a really nice contrast. Just a little bit thrown in there. I'm just going to kind of lighten up all the right sides of my rocks now. Remember to turn that brush as you're going to get different textures. And we don't want to overdo this either. Alright. But once you finish those colors, then just with some plain white, just a tiny, 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 tiny bit of plain white. Alright, just gonna bounce into some of those really high up spots. Again, you're just using a tiny bit. And if you overdo it, you can just kind of smudge it out. Or just a little bit of white up there, just to kind of show the little bits of highlights that the sun is reflecting off. You really don't want to do too many of these, just a couple. On both your ridges here. But sometimes, even if you just dunk it, if you take a tiny bit of white, right, like I mean the smallest bit of white, and then I actually wipe it off on the paper towel, right, so it's almost like there isn't any on there. But that little bit sometimes is enough to actually really add some nice highlights on there. But just taking the white, wiping it off on the paper towel really does help. Awesome. Beautiful. All right, and that, once you add those tiny little bits of white in there, you are done with Bob Jr. So you can put Bob Jr. back in the water. And I'm going to pull you guys up close here so you can check it out. Okay. So we have a nice balance between those lights and darks. Just a tiny bit of white thrown in there on those little crests and ridges. All right, and then make sure you're hydrating, folks. It's a warm one. How's everybody feeling so far? How are your mountains looking? 2 thumbs up? Emery, I'm getting some wobbles. Let's see what you got. You want to show it? Hey, that looks awesome. Those look like some West Virginia mountains. All right, I'm going to give you guys 30 more seconds to put those highlights down. Otherwise, it's easy to overdo. So we're just going to go 30 seconds, and then we're going to go on to our next step. All right, thumbs up if you're ready to rock. All right, I see some thumbs ups. So, the next color, I'm use a fresh spot on your plate. I'm just gonna reuse as many cups as I can. This is all dried out, so I'm just gonna use this one because it's basically clean. So for this color, we're gonna go for a nice orange. All right, so we're gonna want a nice orange that's gonna kind of cover over this yellow. And to get that, we're gonna basically take a nice big scoop of yellow. All right, so get yourself a nice big old scoop of yellow. All right, and then we're gonna do a big dunk of red.
Which brush are you using?
I'm sorry, I went back to a clean bob. Thank you, Phoebe, I did not specify. We are back.
No
We
problem.
are back to Bob, our big old brush. So give him a little swirl in the jacuzzi. Make sure
The
he's...
equal parts red and yellow?
No. One big old scoop of yellow, and then a dunk of red. And then a dunk of red. All right, and if it's a little bit more red than you want, just add a little bit of yellow. We're looking for a nice orange. All right, so here, I'll show you my color here. I added a little bit more yellow to mine just to kind of lighten it up. It was a bit red, but that's what I'm working with. It's kind of hard to tell. But that is the orange I have. Now, does everybody have a color that they like? Sort of ish, maybe. Fantastic. All right, so we don't want our brush all caked up. We want it loaded, but not globbed up. So it's a little fat, but it's fine. All right, so now I'm gonna keep it horizontal for now. All right, and for what I'm gonna do is just keep it horizontal off in the distance here, and I'm just gonna cut back and forth through those streaks that I already laid down. All right, now what you might have to do is take a tiny bit of white. All right, so I'm going to take a little corner of white, because if you don't have a little bit of white in there, it's not going to cover up over that black. So let's just add a tiny bit of white to that orange that we made. All right, and then it'll cover up over those
Hang
lines.
on, we're just going to the base of the mountain, covering it?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of just keeping it horizontal. I'm just going to kind of bring it up into those shadows there. And you don't want to go all the way up into the mountains though. Right, but a couple of them can go a little further than others. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line going across. In fact, don't have it be a straight line going across. That'll look a little silly. So now I'm going to bring this color pretty much straight down. I need to mute, hang on. All right, hang on. All right, I am muting everybody. Here we go. So we are gonna just bring this color straight down. And every once in a while, this is an important part. All right, every once in a while, what I want you to do on the edges is, again, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to take my black, and I'm just going to take the tiniest little bit. Again, when I say the tiniest little bit, I mean like as little black that I can possibly get on the corner of my brush. All right, and then on the sides here, I'm just going to dust those in every once in a while. And I'm just going to go over them with that orange paint, and you'll get these really nice shadow streaks. Okay? So a tiny bit of black on the corner of your brush, throw in a streak, and then just go over it a bunch of times with the orange. And it'll add these nice little streaks in there. But we're going to just bring this all the way down. And it's alright if some of that yellow shines through, actually. You don't have to cover every little inch. again, every once in a while, just throwing in some of those streaks of black. And if you end up with a lot, just throw a little orange over it and blend it out, and it'll just disappear.
So is this color going all the way down to the bottom?
Yes. Yeah. Now towards the bottom. All right, towards the bottom, we're gonna add some more shadows, but in the middle instead. All right, so I'll show you what that looks like when I get down there. So again, we're just gonna bring this orange, cutting down, leaving some of that yellow shining through. That's fine. Now, if you didn't already paint the bottom of your canvas, use this color to do that. So I'm just going to lift mine up. Now, wherever you are at, I'm just going to ask that you pause and look up here, because we are going to put a cactus about 1.5 inches up from the base, or maybe 2 inches up. And what we want to do is we want the shadow to come down right through here. All right, so we have this nice orange that's already wet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, again, just the tip of my brush, and I'm going to put some black paint on it. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle down the illusion of a shadow. Now, it's not going to look very good right this second, but what I'm going to do is pull. So I'm going to wipe my brush off now that I have the black on there, and then take that orange again, and then just pulling in from the sides here. We're just going to add some streaks going in there. And it's just going to kind of ripple it up, just so it's not a perfectly straight line. Now, it'll make way more sense once we actually have the cactus in there. And if you accidentally pull some, that's all right. We got a little hill here. Perfect. We'll just add a little orange over that. Have the illusion of a little hill. Perfect. So wherever you just put that little shadow, that's where the base of your cactus is going to start. All right. And for now, we are going to need this to dry. All right. So now, if you have the same effect like mine, where it's hard to see in this, but you can still see some of those streaks that I put off in the distance. Now that it's had a couple seconds to dry, I'm actually going to add a little layer just to cover that up a little bit better. All right. I didn't add quite enough white into that orange to really cover it. All right, but some of these we can just go right over here. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so we are going to need to give that a minute or two to dry. So I am going to wash my brush. I think that's the last we're going to be using Bob. The next brush we're going to be going after is Rhonda.
Sawyer,
Yo.
I wasn't paying attention to the shadow part. Can you go over that one more time?
Yeah. So I just took a tiny bit of black and just smeared it down. And just kind of mushed it into the wet orange that was already there. And then I took a paper towel and I cleaned it off a little bit. All right, so clean off your brush a tiny bit. And then put some of that orange back over it. And then I didn't go straight across it. I was kind of ending my brush strokes at the shadow just to kind of get it to crisscross back and forth and kind of play in the paint a little bit. And just and it kind of just zigzags down a little bit. It's not a perfectly straight line, but it's just kind of like a shadow in the sand.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course. All right, so take another 30 seconds and then we really want to get those brushes down so we get the paint some time to dry. Any questions so far? Feel free to unmute yourself and shout them out. All right. So again, we're going to give everything at 2 minutes to dry because it's pretty wet. We really don't want to start laying down our cactus until it has some time to dry. So get up, stretch your legs. All right. Do a little dance. Nice, Jaren. That's a good move. I'm going to go stand by the AC unit because it's really hot. I'll be back in...
What is it there?
I'll be back in... I don't know what it is, but in my head it feels like it's 100.
Dude, it's so cold here.
Really?
Yeah, it's not warm here.
It's humid and hot.
Garbage. Alright, where's everybody at? Let me see what everyone else looks like. Lou, let's see it. Lou, yours is... I don't know what it is, Lou, but yours always comes out on more of a yellow and redder scale.
I know, it comes out darker.
But not even darker, it's just always yellow and red. Oh, man, I love those mountains. Those are great.
Nice.
Those are some good mountains. Whoa! All right. I missed what this whole dark thing in the middle is. Sometimes this is where
Shadow or something. Nice, Jared.
It's the shadow of a cactus, but it's hard to know what the shadow is going to look like if you don't even see your cactus.
I know, my shadow is absolutely huge.
my canvas is tiny, so I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to see kind of how it goes. And I'm already soaked in paint, so.
Let me see yours. I didn't see it.
I don't have the best
Ooh.
plate.
Really nice. Cool.
These are the best mountains I've ever done.
Yay.
It looks, I'll send you guys a picture afterwards because it looks better like in the picture because my light's all left up. But yeah, it's coming out great.
Cool. All right. How about
I
other
hate it.
people?
I almost
Anybody
didn't
else
make
got
it.
mountains to show us?
I'm very pissed about my stump shadow.
You're
Me
stuck?
too. So pissed about it. Here it is.
Wait, I don't see the shadow.
It's that poop stain in the middle.
Oh yeah, that's what mine looks like.
That poop stain.
That's just where Roscoe took a dump.
Roscoe! Roscoe, did you poop on Alice's painting?
Where says bring the orange tourist, don't leave
He
it.
said no, Alice. That's on you. Sorry. You can't blame it on Roscoe. Where's Riley?
Dave? Riley's in the other room.
Well, go get her. Why is she not over here?
Alright. I'll have her come say hi.
I want to see the Riley.
Riley, come say hi.
Rascal, come.
Let me get her.
Want to see
Have
Riley.
you met Louie?
Who's Louie? Is
Louie.
Louie the dog?
Good boy. He's a good boy, Louie.
Louie's the good boy.
Say hi to Rascal.
Wait, no, hold on. Who's Louie?
Louie's our new dog.
You have a new dog? What's the new dog?
This is Louie.
David just got him in Florida one day.
What is he? I can't see him.
Oh, you can't see him?
No, Ma, it's pitch black there. Can't see anything.
Alright, wait. Let me
Is
bring
he,
him
is he
outside.
is he just like a mud?
Alright, come say hi, guys. Louie.
Oh, they're the puppies.
Oh, look at Louie! Oh, I love him!
Oh yeah, they're best friends.
Come on.
There's a cat in a tie.
Oh.
Ah, look at the kitty!
Does he always wear the tie?
Tie on.
Only for special occasions.
That's the cutest thing ever.
That is funny. All right, so my
Wait,
canvas
you
needs
guys
another
haven't-
minute to
you guys
dry.
haven't adopted any other birds yet?
What?
I was talking to Dan. I was like, you guys didn't adopt any other birds yet?
No.
You haven't stolen any turtles out of the river?
Louie caught one today just because it came up to lay eggs.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
Was it like a cat?
Had it in his mouth, but we saved it. Alright, Soy.
All right, I'm only nervous to start because I'm not convinced everyone's canvas is dried yet.
mine is not. I gotta actually put a little more orange on mine, to be honest. Mine's really wet.
Well, that means you don't want to add more if it's really wet.
That means you need the blow dryer.
I need you to go blow dry your canvas, Jared. We have places to be. I'm only kidding.
Maybe I'll take mine outside and dry it.
I have nowhere to be, but we do.
I can work with that. I'm good. Sorry, I'm good. Don't wait on me.
Mine's not quite dry yet, so I'm gonna give it another. I'm just gonna give it a fan here. Here we go.
It's all right. Hey, we're socializing here. We're good.
Yeah, it's good.
We're all talking. You know, the weather outside is weather.
Oh yeah, that works well. Just do this for 30 seconds.
No.
Fan your neighbor.
You gotta do a better job at displaying your paintings in the background.
Oh, those are from past weeks if you missed them, folks.
I know, but like, you got one behind the thing. You gotta find some way to, stack them or something.
Yeah, Jaren, I'm working on way more important things like making sure you can see the actual painting.
Yeah, I know.
Like last week was a disaster.
You need a spotlight? Do you actually need spotlights or something? You can ask my dad. He might have some lights down there you can use.
No, I mean I have nice studio lighting. I'm just working on the arrangement.
Soy, did you order studio lighting?
Well, yeah, I have 2 LEDs that are what I'm using now, but I have 2 more coming that'll be off to the sides that'll really help.
Excellent.
Zoe, can I put a flyer for your virtual paint night down at the J Country store?
Sure. Fly
You know why,
away.
Huh?
Fly away.
Alright, cool.
All right. Whose canvases are somewhat ready to go?
Take mine.
We're good.
You guys are good? All right. If it does pick up some of the orange, just be mindful, right? Reload your brush with the green. Just work through it. All right, but we are gonna take a fresh mixing container and or spot on our plate. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. So we're gonna take two big scoops of blue, and we're using Rhonda. I did not tell you. Rhonda is making her first appearance tonight, folks. Get yourself Rhonda. She's our roundest brush. If you don't have Rhonda, get something like it. And then to those 2 scoops of blue, you're going to add a nice big scoop of yeller. And then you're going to swirl those up.
2 parts blue, 1 part yellow?
Yeah, buddy. 2 pots blue, 1 pot yellow. All right, and you're going to mix that up. And then we have 1 more color to add. After you mix it, though. So you got to mix that. And then you're going to add a tiny, tiny, tiny dunk of black. Tiny dunk of black. A little bit goes a long way, so add less than you think you need. And then add a little more if that did nothing. Like I'm going to add a little more. Alright, so you should have a cool green that's a little bit dark. Alright, so now we are going to make our cactus. So, it's basically Pickle Rick, if you guys watch Rick and Morty. No. So no, we're going to just start by getting the general shape of the middle, and then we'll add our ends. Alright, so this particular cactus goes about 4 inches from the top, and it's going to end right about where your shadow is. So if you want, you can just go ahead and just get the general line. Woo!
No.
Oh no. Was your canvas not dry? Oh yeah, this part's a little stressful because you have to cover up all your hard work. But what we're going to do is we're just going to try and keep it the thickness of our brush. We don't want to go, the brush when it's smushed into our canvas. We don't want to go much wider than that. We're doing a nice saguaro, yes. That's the name of this cactus, if you were wondering. Alright, and you kind of want to look at your shadow that you made and just kind of make it as wide as that. Alright, it's okay if it has some little bumps. Alright, so let's give our cacti here some arms before we start adding any shading to it. Alright, so now the arms of a saguaro, like when they attach, they're not going to be much wider than the actual thickness of your brush here. So what we want is for the attach point to be pretty thin. So I'm actually just going to put a little spot right there where I want it to go into my plant. Alright, and that's about as thick as that part's going to be. Now the actual arm that comes out is going to be wider. But let's just go ahead and make a line in to that point that you made. Alright, and then slowly we're just going to kind of balloon out the top here. Just kind of make our cactus a little more cactus-like. Again, I'm keeping this part that's closest to the main stalk pretty thin, but I want the arm to be kind of big over there. Alright, and you can have as many attachments or arms as you want. Alright, I'm going to go for the cliche emoji cactus here with 2 arms and the thing. Alright, and then usually they're not going to connect directly across from each other. So I am going to go a little bit higher up on this side. So I'm just going to put a little mark where I want that to go. Alright, and so then, I'm going to kind of pick where I want my cactus arm to generally end. Just be a little higher than this arm, a little lower than the top. And I'm just going to kind of mush that in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect with the first stroke, because then you're just going to kind of grow your cactus. Alright, so we're just going to kind of slowly widen up those arms. All right. So then just check the top, make sure it's a shape that you like. Again, if you look up pictures of cactuses, the saguaro cactus, it's always going to look a little different. So whether or not your arm is the exact same shape or if it's the same length, it really doesn't matter. Alright, you just want the general outline to be similar. Alright, really the most important thing is that it's going to be thinnest near the cactus, and then as it works its way around, these kind of get ballooned out. Awesome. Now, what I'm going to do is, even if you're not quite done filling that in, I am going to ask that you just turn your attention to me. Alright, and I'm going to take Rhonda, and I'm putting Rhonda in the water, and I'm switching to Rhonda Jr. Alright, and I'm going to just, while the paint's wet, this is why it's important, so while the paint's wet, I'm just going to take a tiny bit of black, alright, and this is where I'm going to wipe most of that paint off on the paper towel. Alright, I'm going to wipe most of that paint off, so there's barely any paint on there. And this is where I'm going to add my shadows. So most of my light's coming from this way, so the whole left side, that left edge of my cactus is going to be in shadow. Alright, so just reloading that brush every once in a while. Add a little bit of water if you need to. But while the paint's wet, if you go in with the black, it'll be able to blend into that green. And you just want to go along that left edge. Every couple strokes, reload that brush. Alright, now up here with this first little elbow, just going to stay underneath it. Just bringing that shadow out along underneath. And then doing that left edge. And again, once I get most of that paint off, then I use that same brush to just kind of blend the black into the green. So it's not a super harsh line going through the middle. And it's okay if some of those black streaks actually go over onto the right a little bit, just to give the illusion of some shadows. Actually looks nice. Now right at the base of the cactus, if you just take some of that black and just kind of cut a little bit in right at the base, it'll just help make that shadow look even more realistic. And then what I'm actually going to do is take some of this black and just kind of throw in some little indications of little bushes and brush right around the base. You don't often see these cactuses standing alone, just sitting in the sand. They usually have some brush right around. And then with the black, with the same brush, and I just want to make sure that I get a really pointy tip now, I'm just going to add some little dots just to kind of give the illusion of some spikes coming off this cactus. And really, I'm barely touching the canvas. Alright, if you can't get your brush to do what you want it to, sometimes if you just flip it over and use the back end of the brush, of the smallest brush that you have, you can get a really nice point with just using the actual handle of your brush. Right? If you can't get it to quite the point that you want with the bristles, go ahead and try using the back of the brush itself. Alright, but just add a couple dots all the way around. Just to add the shadows with some little thorns poking off.
Can you explain again what you're doing?
Yeah, so right now I'm just taking Rhonda Jr. and I'm trying to get the brush as pointy as I can. Alright, and if you can't get Rhonda Jr. to a real point, then you can try using the back of your brush. But we're just kind of adding in tiny little dots going up and down the cactus all the way around it, just to give the illusion of some thorns.
Of what color?
This is just straight black. Straight black. Alright, so in the next 10 seconds, finish up those little dots. Alright, and we're going to add one more shade of green. Alright, so we're going to add just a little bit of light green into this. So we're going to clean off Rhonda Jr. We're using Rhonda Jr. again. So give Rhonda Jr. a nice wash. Dry her off in the towel. Alright, and now you're going to take a scoop of blue. Scoop of blue. Alright, then you're going to take half a scoop of yellow. And you're going to take a dunk of white. And mix them up. And make sure you don't see any little swirls or lines of solid yellow or solid blue or solid
Can
white.
you name those colors again? Sorry.
Yes, you're doing one scoop of blue. And then you're doing half a scoop of yellow. And then a dunk of white. Alright, and this will give us kind of almost a teal. Alright, and then this we're just going to use very sparingly. Alright, so these saguaros kind of have cool little stripes coming down them. So, with a very, very sharpened point. So again, when I mean sharpened point, I'm going to swirl it off on the edge of my cup here. So I get that to a point. Alright, and then I'm just going to very gently bring down just some nice little indications of some lines coming down. And again, the lighter I press, the nicer those lines are going to look. All right, you really don't want to push too hard at all. Just bringing some lines down. And bring some of these light green lines into the shadow color too. Looks really nice having that contrast. Not just into the light green. And don't forget that far branch. Yeah, these light green stripes are really what starts to make it look a lot like a cactus here for us. Beautiful. So let's take another minute to get all those stripes and shadows and highlights in there. All right, and then we only have one last step, and that is going to be to put in our little flower, our desert. I don't know what it's called. I don't know. What's the flower on saguaro? Anyone know? Lou, I figured if somebody knew, it'd be you. So again, let's just take a little bit longer and finish these up. And then for the last couple minutes, we're just going to spend on our lovely flower. How's everybody's cacti looking? Hey, it's like the easiest plant to draw. It's only got 3 branches, you know? Not even. It's got 2 branches in the trunk. All the other trees have hundreds.
And try a cucumber, but with arms.
Yeah, or Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick! Yeah, so if you are finishing up your last couple of streets.
Boyer, your alarm just went off.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mama.
Yeah.
Am I about to go 3? I'll just let it die, whatever. If they want to know how to draw the flower, they can message me.
I don't really get what the bottom of that cactus is.
Well, doesn't have a hole. It's just got some black wispies coming up, right? And then I kind of did the same going down, and then I just kind of went. It's just a little. It's just the indication of the shadow, and then it just has some little bushes around it, so it's not sitting alone, or just like one little bush, I guess. Do you want me to move you closer?
Yeah.
There.
Okay.
All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is our flower. All right, our flower is pretty cool. It's just gonna be white, yellow, and orange. And actually, if you don't have any orange laying around, you can just use red. Actually, you know what? I'm probably just gonna use red too, because that'll look nice. All right, but we need a clean spot on the white. So my white is like full of gunk, but that's fine. I'm just gonna go to a little clean corner. All right, and I want a nice sharp point. So we're gonna be making really little dots. So if you have a round back of your paintbrush, this is where you might want to use that. If you can get a better circle with that than you can actually get with your bristles, give that a try. All right, so you can pick which one you want to put your flower on. All right, I'm gonna put the flower right on the middle one. All right, and for this, let me see if I can get you guys closer, because it is a little bit more detailed. One second, hang on, I'm making a mess of things. Hold on. Okay. One sec. Oh, Jesus. Alright, getting closer. Getting closer. Let's see. Alright, that's better. Yeah? Sorta? It's definitely better. Alright, awesome. Here we go. So, get yourself a nice sharp point with the white. Give it a little swirl on the side if you have to. And then maybe dunk it again. Alright, so we're just going to go with little dots. Alright, so I'm just going to start by putting one little dot right there. Woohoo! It's stressful. It's right in the middle. Alright, and then we're going to kind of make like a little bit of an oval. So we don't want to make a perfect circle. And now I'm just going to make little dots and just kind of connecting them around. Now I want my dots in the front of this oval to be a little bigger. My dots in the back be a little smaller, just to kind of give the illusion of depth. But I'm just going to I'm reloading my brush every time. And I'm just doing little spots, which are going to make a little petal going around. Or a mouth for Pickle Rick. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, so then as you get around to that far side of your flower, you want these dots to be even smaller, because they're a little further away. So we have almost like an eyeball with little dots. Alright, now let me set my paintbrush down and I'll move you guys closer right up there so you can see. Alright. So it's just the outermost petals of my flower right now.